On. Welcome back to FPRK Radio Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all the things that tear us apart, all the things that we're not supposed to talk about at work or at your family functions or just amongst old colleagues, things you're not supposed to talk about, politics, religion, and Kanye West. That's right, this is Fuck Politics, Religion, and Kanye West. And this week, it's been a while. I'm sorry, I've been away for a little bit. I've been away for a month. I'm trying to figure out how to bring this to you guys. I'm trying to figure out the right way. Patreon, YouTube. I don't know. You tell me. Leave it in a comment. No one will comment. But today, I'm joined by Jeff Garfinkel. I almost just called you Garf. And I was like, no, let me do.
I feel more comfortable if you call me Garf.
Right, yeah. So Garf, a colleague of mine, and a friend. And this week is a little different. You know, usually I like to keep it kind of free-flowing, as you will. But there's been a lot going on this week, and I've been myself, over the last 11 days, there's been a conflict. And even just calling it a conflict at this point is right. It's contentious. And that speaks to the level of contentiousness whenever this comes up.
Well, I think it undersells.
You want to get on that mic a little bit? Sorry
about that.
Yeah.
I think it undersells what's actually going on, the state of affairs between the two nation states. I mean, it's
all right. So
conflict makes it sound like there aren't rockets being lobbed on both sides.
Right. Yeah.
Conflict
is
like, oh, he stepped on my shoe and scuffed my Jordan.
Right. Or and it kind of it takes away from how long it's been going on. Where I guess a conflict it's enough and it's not enough, right? And so in this, I don't want to say I skew towards one direction or another on it. But I know how I feel towards it, and I know how I feel towards it is viewed. And I don't like having these conversations on the internet. I could make a quick blanket statement on the internet. I can, and this is for anything. Like, I seem vocal, and people say I'm vocal, but I'm like, I know I'm never saying as much as I want to say because I think a lot of it is intricate. So I wanted to have somebody on here to kind of have this discussion. And what I asked for was someone who was pro-Israel. And what I got was, I'm not pro-Israel, but I'm pro-peace. And which I liked for two different reasons. I'll tell you why I liked it. One, because I still read that as pro-Israel, right? Because I asked for pro-Israel, you responded, but you said I'm pro-peace, right? So I'm like, all right, okay. So it's where I'm looking to work with, right? Because obviously I'm looking to get to resolution. So why don't you just kind of give the people a little breakdown of, maybe like where you were even coming from responding to that.
Yeah, absolutely. So pro-peace, first of all, like you said, thousands of years this has been going on.
Go on. Okay. I'm already like, wait, but go on.
Okay. Okay. There's a discussion here, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Let's just say too long. For too long, it's been going on.
Too long.
And that's really the bottom line.
Okay.
For too long, it's been going on. We hope to have an end soon with whatever the resolution may be. Personally, for me, I think it's a one-state solution, but I understand the argument on both sides.
Right. And when you say one-state solution, just so we're clear, when you mean a one-state solution, you mean both, just everyone that is there currently living under one government with equal rights.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
But within that government, separate smaller governments, much like in the United States of America, or for a better comparison, the United Arab Emirates,
right.
where each ethnic population, or not necessarily ethnic population, but ethno-religious group in their geographic territory governs themselves to a degree under the umbrella of one larger one-state government.
Okay. And I'm somewhere in everywhere that I've thought of, or everywhere that every way that I look at it, I think that's the only way that makes sense. as a one-state government.
Look
right?
at us.
Yeah.
The first thing we agree.
Right,
We're on
yeah.
a roll, man.
Right.
We get this done. I know what everybody else has been doing this whole time, but
Well, I know what they've been doing. They've been fucking selling weapons and protecting their fucking interests and like all sorts of other shit, and then using it in between to play off all this other shit.
and accepting
Right.
state-sponsored terrorism
Yeah.
from backers.
Right. So this is
That
all right.
cuts both ways.
So and here's where when I held you up when you were like, it's a 1,000-year-old debate. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not like for me, everything that I've read about and the way I understand it is that this particular debate is about a 100-year-old debate, a little bit more, right?
Yes, correct. Except recently, with the rise of the social media activism on this conflict's go around, because
Right.
and
And 2014 too.
yeah, but not as much to the degree it is now. We're seeing different terminology used that I actually I can't get behind as far as that activism goes.
Okay, and see here, and I think
Not all of it, but
not
some.
all of it, and I think you mean like the ethnic cleansing,
Yeah, to be honest, more specifically, it's like the settler colonial argument.
right.
I happen to think American social justice movements are taking those words to co-opt a Palestinian activism movement.
Okay, so here's and I found it differently. I have kind of found those words to be and listen. For a large part, even when it's so accurate and on point, I hate social justice language. It just irks me initially, right? It always just like I'm like just calm down.
That's because you and I are pragmatist realists.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
I think that's what it is.
I am a radical leftist. I'm a radical leftist anarchist, and I'm still like, I fucking hate this language, right?
But
and
pragmatic as
right?
hell.
Yeah, pragmatic as hell. Like, how do I get there? How do I get there? Right? And so some of the things I'm like, I understand what's happening in Israel more as a settler colonialism. And here's where my understanding comes from, and this is where I'm looking to like figure out where I'm wrong, right? Is my understanding of Palestine or the area that's Palestine, and really largely, to talk about just this area as though that it's a line that was drawn again, maybe 100 years ago, right? That the lines of Palestine were drawn out. The first lines of Palestine were drawn out in like 1917 or some shit, right? And until then, it's been part of different regions. And in that time, there's been Arab people, and those Arab people taking on different religions, different beliefs, different whatever. But it's been Arab people there, right? And some of those Arab people were Jewish people. And if they weren't Arab people from that place of Palestine, they were Arab people from, Egypt or Mesopotamia or other places in the region. And then, so these are the natural people to the region.
I'll respond.
Please.
So I believe it was about 3,500 years ago that like the Judeans, as they came to be known, from Judea,
Right.
which is now the area of the West Bank primarily.
Right.
There was really only Jews, and it wasn't until about 700 years later that Arabs first started coming into that area.
Right.
So,
Well,
personally,
no. Okay, go on.
So personally, for me, to portray Israel as a settler colonial state, that's a problem. Because if you flip that narrative, technically, we're the only people in the only area in the history of the world to decolonize, to go back to the land that we were expelled from by the Romans and take it back with the customs, faith, tradition, all the tenets of indigeneity.
Okay,
Still intact.
But here's what I'm saying. There are Jewish people who were from that region and were in that region, right? My understanding is that a large part of the Jewish community that has come back there are people that aren't of that region, right? So like religion is all religion does. It spreads, right? And so like I could go, and I know it's not like a religion. I understand the differences into it being a religion. It's more like a set of faiths packed into a suitcase, and you take it somewhere and whatever. And I get that, right? But it's like even if I, as like a black man who's been taken from Africa, if I like tried to go back to Africa and be like, no, I was from here, right? Like even if like my people are originally from here, 2,000, not even 2,000 years ago, 400 years ago, I was originally from this land. This land, it was taken from me. This life was taken from me. It's wild for me to go back then and take it, and especially going like they're like you don't, and that's me having a root in Africa, right? My family was snatched from this place. I was brought here. I stayed here for my family line was here for generations, right? And then for me to go back and go, well, this is mine now, right? That's a little wild to me. But then to also go, right, if someone that was from France to go back and then go, I get to have citizenship here and I get to displace the people that are here, right? Like I get the safe haven of it, right? I get that there needs to be a place for safe haven. You get, automatic citizenship. Because as black people, we want our reparations, we want our safe place. Like we still want that shit, right? So I get that, and I understand that, and that made sense to me as a kid when I was being taught about Israel, what Israel's for, and how Israel was created, and mind you, like I was raised around mostly Jewish people. Like all of my initial understanding of this conflict comes from my Jewish friends
through the lens of Judaism.
That's where I get it from. Yeah. And then also through American history.
Okay, so before we continue, first of all, there's a couple of different sects of that argument that we have to break down.
Right.
The first is when we were expelled, it's always been the belief of Jews that like we're coming back.
I know.
We're fucking coming back. I don't care how long it takes us. I don't care how many countries we get kicked out of. Russia, Spain, the list goes on. All the Arab countries that no longer welcome us at all anywhere, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Thousands of years that's been going on. So, but we've always said next year in Jerusalem. That's our thing. That's our slogan.
Right.
That's our tagline. We're living and dying by it. Next year in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
If you're not familiar, every year in our tradition, since we've been expelled, the tradition is next year in Jerusalem. That's part of the reason why we break the glass when we get married.
Right.
It's to say like, all right, we're breaking this line and we're going back to Israel.
Right.
So
and then okay.
Oh wait, hold on. And then the next portion, it's interesting that you brought up slavery and the dispossession of land and people, because obviously we were slaves.
Mm-hmm. Well, and listen, I've also been doing some research into this, and I tried it, because I don't want it to be like I research all ancient religious stuff as it is, right? And so like with Muhammad, there's a historical record around the time of Muhammad that places Muhammad in that time, whether Muhammad saw God or not, like the existence of Muhammad exists. Same thing with like Jesus. Like Jesus is kind of hard to pin down in history. He doesn't exist in a lot of contemporaneous things. Israel and Egypt land is hard to place historically. And I know Moses didn't split the Red Sea, right? So there's like
But how do you know? But how do you know that?
So and listen, I did a report in law school.
We were slaves in the Holocaust.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But the reason I bring this up is, there's an Arab African slave trade that never gets mentioned.
Yeah.
That displaced about 3 times more slaves than the transatlantic slave trade, and also that went on up until 30 years ago, and still covertly goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, so that actually leads me to the belief that some of the social justice activism hadn't really done all their research. Like, I cannot see several of the movements in the social justice forefront right now advocating for nation states that at more recent times profited or prolificated the Arab African slave trade.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's like mind.
I mean, and it's a difficult thing to talk like slave trade all around because, like, you know, like, and especially as Black people, right? Like, we have this monopoly on the slave trade, and like you know,
Yeah,
tough for me to say it even right now, right? Like, you know, because we have this monopoly on the slave trade, but the slave trade, it's not the slave trade, it's slave trade, and it's been slave trade forever, right? So it's been slave trade forever. So you guys have been dispossessed of land. We've been dispossessed of land. Other people have been dispossessed of land. Like, if you go talk to the Irish, they've got their beefs with the English. Like, everyone has this. Like, we all have this hate, right? Like, we all have hate towards our groups.
But
we all have had oppression towards our groups.
But the Irish have Ireland.
Yeah.
And Black people have Africa.
No, we don't. Every part of fucking Africa has been colonized, cut up, and
that's fair.
bought and sold. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, we don't have Africa.
That's fine. All right. You've made some slight inroads here in America. Plenty of road to go.
Oh, no, yeah. And our inroads have been in spite of everything that's happened. And we still
100%.
Right, yeah. Like, I mean, you know, we are...
Which, by the way, that whole bootstrap argument is so offensive
It's
because
bullshit.
of that.
They pulled themselves on our bootstraps. Like I know what America is, right? Yeah. Like,
I'm sorry, whose bootstraps were you
like
wearing?
you wore my bootstraps out, and now you're like, pull yourself up in your bootstraps. You wore them out, motherfucker. Let me use yours. But like, all right, so like, I understand that with Jewish people. So like, I think there's a big thing too, and I'm glad we're spending a lot of time on this without even getting to what's happening with Israel now, because I think a big part is people are, you know, okay, we can talk about whatever happened in the beginning, but I think that's the most important part, right?
Yeah, it's in the context of it.
Right.
Because guess what? This is really just, you know, if we're looking at the Middle East as a whole, it's thousands of years of family beef.
Yeah.
That's really legitimately what it is.
And
cousins fighting over who got what and who gets what and how it got split up.
If you look at the fucking... just like the beginning of civilization, right? You're like, okay, people started in a place. And the place that people started was all in this region, right? That's just where the Fertile Crescent and, you know, like Egypt and Mesopotamia and Sumerian religion and all that. Right, it just all happened right there, right? And so this is where all the first stories happen. It's where we first started recording history. And so we all have this idea, like every group is like, no, this is a really special place, and it's like, it's not. It's just where we came first.
Yeah, that's like PR 101. Control the narrative.
Yeah.
That's it.
Right.
That did a great job. Lasted for like 2,000 something years, and now people are like, you know what? Maybe I don't believe in this shit.
So, right. So I'm gonna go with like, all right. So we can dispute whether there is this, and I still disagree that it is. I think it would have been really okay if they would have just said, this land of Israel, Jewish people are able to come here, you have citizenship here, you have protection here. And then where I start to see the dispute arise is when you are displacing people that are there.
Okay, so that's another part of the argument, and let's dissect that. Specifically, Sheikh Jarrah, that land was bought by not an Israeli trust, because Israel didn't exist at the time in the 1800s when they bought it from the Jordanians.
Yeah.
But a trust owned by Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
That land was bought. The Jordanians took it back by force. The Israelis won it back in the 1967 war.
Won it back?
Well, it was theirs. They bought it.
Right. They took it back.
Yeah, they.
But it wasn't like a legal win. It was like they took it back.
Yeah, property they owned to begin with.
Okay, but like, right? Okay,
right?
Okay, maybe right. But hold on. So we're going 1967 war. They took everything back, right? 1967 war. They take everything. They take the Golan Heights. They take the fucking.
Which we gave back part of that.
Yeah. Right. You gave it back, and when you gave it back, you said, all right, here is our compromise, right? You guys get the West Bank, you get East Jerusalem, you get Gaza, right? So now I personally, this is how I think a lot of people look at it.
Hold on, because there are more intricate terms. When in the land, Sheikh Jarrah, when it was agreed upon that it would return to Israel, well, not return, that it would go to Israel because of the purchase of the land in the 1800s, it was agreed upon that it would be leased and that the people who were leasing it, the Palestinians,
Right.
would give up claim to the land. That was part of the deal.
Who made that deal?
Well, the Jordanians.
Right.
And then that brings us to another point. How come none of the other fucking Arab countries want to help the Palestinians other than to give them bombs to lob at Israel?
Well, because it doesn't make sense for them politically to do it. Like, I'm not going to worry about them.
But then
So,
why
hold on.
But then why should Israel be responsible for the political ramifications of this
Because,
conflict when nobody else wants to take?
Because they are making they are going into the conflict, right?
They don't have no responsibility. I'm not arguing for no.
Right, they have a lot. So
100%.
Like, I would say, like, for Sheikh Jarrah, right? So even if, right, we're talking about this old land purchase from the 1800s, right? 1800s, and they got it back in 1967, and now they're trying to enforce it.
Well,
me,
they're not trying to enforce it. The Israeli Supreme Court is trying to enforce it.
Right. And
let's get our lawyer hats on. For a second.
We'll get our lawyer hats on. I have big issues with I have my lawyer hat on.
Listen, if it were up to me, they should just let Sheikh Jarrah go. Just fucking give it to them.
Let it fucking go.
Just give
like
it to
and here's the thing. I have paid attention to and this is where I think ethnic cleansing comes into play.
It's a big word.
It's a big word. And I think it's a big
words.
word because and I think when people hear ethnic cleansing, and same thing with like white supremacy here, ethnic cleansing in America, it has the idea of genocide. And genocide and ethnic cleansing aren't the same thing. Ethnic cleansing is to say, I just need you gone, right? I just need you gone or to assimilate.
Or in this case, to pay the rent.
But it's not just that. It is the settlements.
Part of it.
The settlements that are going on through West Gaza, right? Through the West Bank.
Yeah.
The settlements happening through the West Bank, the starving, and this is how I see it personally, right? And hearing what I hear from all of the prime ministers of Israel, it is clear to me that the intention is, as they say, they are trying to make Israel for Jewish people from the
Sea to the river.
River to the sea, yeah, sea to the river, right? That's what I hear from Netanyahu. That's what I've heard from everyone before him. Since it's been the other guy, then Netanyahu, then some other guy, and Netanyahu, and it's very like that's what I hear.
Okay, so in 2008, Olmert offered to give all of that land to the Palestinians in exchange for a few tiny slivers where there were already existing Israeli settlements, which settlement itself is even a loaded word.
Right.
So basically, in exchange for all of the control of 98% of the land that is now termed Palestine,
Right.
they were willing to give it all up and say, let's do this for peace. Just give us these little pieces, where our people are.
Well,
And we're going to give you these giant swaths where your people are. And we're going to give it all up.
If you're doing a...
Hold on. And Abbas's advisor said, take this fucking deal, man.
Mm-hmm.
Please take this deal.
Yeah.
And he didn't take it.
Okay.
And part of the reason why I think, and other people think, because I'm not smart enough to come up with this idea myself, is that the legend of Abbas is built on, we're going to fight this.
Okay.
And if he makes peace, he loses his identity.
I mean, they both do that. Like Netanyahu right now, just for calling a ceasefire, is getting shit from his party for being like, "Fuck you, don't give them shit."
Yeah,
like
look,
that. They get that from both sides.
The far right
yeah.
Israeli government are pieces of shit.
Pieces of shit.
Just like any far right government.
Yeah.
So this brings to another point. World Jewry is held to the stake over the actions of a Netanyahu government.
Okay, this is what I want to get to here too, because I think this is important. because world Jewry is held to this, right? And it is. And like right now, like, you know, the increase in Jewish violence, and it's fucked. It shouldn't be like that. And I don't think that. Well, no, I kind of do. Like, I think there should be because this is a standard I hold myself to as an American. Mm-hmm. I hold myself to as an American to be like, I don't fuck with what they're doing, right? Period. I'm a person. I live in America. I'm from America and I have American culture. But what those people are doing right there, I don't fuck with, right? So I'm not holding anyone to a standard that I don't hold myself to.
So like you're saying like the Texas abortion rule that just came out regarding like you can't have abortions past 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're saying. Like I don't fuck with that.
I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with Trump. I don't fuck with Joe Biden giving extra money to Israel, right?
But,
like I don't.
But you're also an American.
Yeah.
I'm not an Israeli. I have as much influence on the Israeli government as I do on the fucking Palestinian government.
You have as you do in the American government.
Well, here at least I get a vote.
You get a vote, right? But like, but you could also you could go to Israel and you could get a vote. You could go there and you could declare citizenship and you can get a vote.
Yeah.
And then also if it's going. Like I just feel the criticism has to be like it not has to be the same, but like it should be the same. Like I feel like and it's maybe not fair to you guys, but I feel it coming from you guys because I have more Jewish friends and I can't think of a Palestinian I know. I literally don't know if I know any Palestinian.
I know a Palestinian.
I'm sure I do, but I know
you know that guy. Oh shit! I don't know if I should say his name. A guy we know from where we work.
Yeah.
His wife is a Palestinian Christian.
Yeah, and I'm sure, like, I'm positive. I talk
Lovely girl, by the way. Like, we've sat down and talked many a time.
And, like, I know, some Palestinian person's going to hit me up and be like, Aston, what the fuck, Aston? Like, I know they're going to, but, like, I know people from, Afghanistan.
Well, Bella and Gigi Hadid.
All right, yeah.
There's another problem.
Right.
That's another fucking problem.
I didn't follow what they're doing, but she's fucking Palestinian. I don't know. I didn't follow what she was doing. I have no idea.
We'll table that.
I saw something today that one of my Jewish friends posted I've been debating with, and she posted something about them. I don't know what they did. They're fucking models. I don't give a shit. We'll get to that in Kanye. And as far as me looking to celebrities for what to do about something, I don't expect them to do more research than me. I don't
especially on the most hotly contested geopolitical issue maybe ever.
Right. I don't expect politicians to know more than me. Like when people
I know the politicians don't know more than we do.
Exactly. Right. So people
like
ask
you see AOC stumbling over her questions.
I mean, anyone though. I watch the fucking news. I watch the news, and I'm like, the conflict's framed wrong. So I don't.
Well, on the other side, Ted Cruz is just as much of a buffoon,
right? On
that other side of
that
issue.
And like you guys should all, every time one of these fucking hardline Christians are really supporting Israel, and you know why, and it's because it's for them. They think Jesus is going to come back.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like it's.
But again, far right anything could go right and fuck themselves.
Right. Like so,
keep going further.
I think it shouldn't be really difficult. And I think it is because it's like, and I'll give you an example for me as like a black person, right? Like in the issues that we have, like, and I was telling someone about this earlier, like when Derek Chauvin got convicted, people were celebrating, fuck yeah, he's going to jail, and I didn't really post shit about it because I'm not excited when anyone goes to jail. And that's something I said to myself, like a long time ago, like I'm against jail. I think jail is wrong. I don't think people learn from it. I think it is a deterrent when someone can't be stopped from hurting people, and that's what it should be for. But as a punitive thing, I don't like it, and I don't celebrate it no matter what. Like, I really don't.
Rehabilitation has been proven time and again to be the answer.
And I know for me to say that, it seems like as a black person, it's like, nah, this is the team. So you got to be on the team, even if like me saying for or against or whatever is going to do something. Like, this is the team. You're supposed to be for the team, right? And Israel is almost considered the team. And so when we go, you go like, I don't have any say in Israel. I don't have any say in Israel, whatever. But I know, because I know as a black person that there's still this thing that I have to defend this. Like, there's still this kind of thing that this represents us a little bit, right?
Right. So to that point, I think more of the responsibility lies on the American-Israeli relationship that American Jews particularly probably have to weigh in on further.
Yeah.
But look, let's say your family is originally Ghanaian, right? I don't blame you for the fucking government decisions of Ghana right now.
Right. But
So,
if Ghana was, say, fucking, just bombing the shit out of the country next to it, and then I didn't say shit and just like posted a Ghana flag, it would seem like I'm supporting what they're doing. And then so now
fired first?
So right down
fired first?
Now let's get to that. Because here is where I think is the difficult part, and this is what's happening now.
Okay, but before we get to that, do you acknowledge that the government that currently rules over Gaza and the West Bank can be classified as a terrorist organization or in some way committing terrorism?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also 1,000% say the same thing about the Israeli government.
And that's fair.
Right.
Just as long as you're willing to start from the point that their government may be just as bad.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But here's where I'll go. And like, I don't want to be thought to excuse it because, like, if anything else, it needs to be known that I hate religion. I do not like religion. I think it is the most divisive thing that there is amongst us, and nothing has been used more successfully to divide us or drive us towards war. I hate religion. Hamas is born out of the Muslim Brotherhood. I know what they're about.
Well, thank Jesus, praise Allah, and Baruch Hashem to all of that.
Right, like I all the way there. And so, like, but I also know how I know the best recruiting tactics for Hamas, right? So if there isn't this Sheikh Jarrah conflict, right? Sheikh Jarrah conflict, they don't have something to go off of, right? If Hamas is, I look at it like the Bloods and the Crips, right? The Bloods are born out of black people trying to defend themselves from white people in Compton when black people first got there, and the white people formed gangs against them, and so we formed gangs, and now we have these gangs that are formed out of protection.
Right. The white people left, but the gangs are still there.
Right. And it's formed out of this, like, we don't know what else to do, right? And so I don't, like, Hamas is, they were able to get a foothold in a land of people who didn't know where else to turn.
So this is an excellent point, and I think that this ties back to the real settler colonial argument in that the British set up the Palestinians and the Israelis to be enemies.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the story through the whole Middle East.
Right. But people don't realize that. People don't take the time to realize that. The people who live there don't take the time, right?
That. Yeah. I mean, we were talking today about just me and my friend were talking about just like even just back in the 80s when like the United States was funding the war between Iran and Iraq, and during the time, you know, like if you're in Iran or Iraq, your news isn't even getting in that the people there are fighting, and they don't realize that they're fighting two sides of a war to destabilize your region to, you know, take advantage of it, right? And I, you know, to a large part, the same thing was happening there. I think the difference is, I think that's what happened there. I also think that currently, and this is my geopolitical position, and this isn't like to shit on Israel. I think because I think Israel's a part of America, and I'm very hard on the American regime. I think the American regime is really, really just one of the worst ever. And Israel like kind of runs with it,
except when they don't. Because Bibi has literally just given that finger
and this is what I was
to the American government. Be like, nope.
And this is what I was going to say. Israel it was meant to be, like originally from England, it was meant to be a colony, Not their own colony. It wasn't supposed to be Israel as their own thing, doing their own thing. Like they were like, we're going to control this. And then America, at some point, we're like, oh no, we can get a piece of this. And Israel has been like, fuck you guys. You guys made us. We're on our own. You can't stop us.
Israel's the Crips.
Right. Yeah. Right. They are. Israel is very much a rogue. I would describe them as a rogue colony. Like they're a colony that now they're armed to the teeth.
Not a colony. Can't be a colony.
Well, they were a colony.
Insinuates that it's colonization.
But they were a colony. That's what they started as, a colony. It was a colony. Coming off of World War I, it's a colony. Palestine was created as a colony.
The British mandate of Palestine.
Yes.
It's not Israel's colony.
Yeah. But
got to make that clear.
But the British,
it's Britain's colony.
Yeah. The British mandate of Palestine,
which is its full name.
Yes.
Up until 1948.
Yeah, until 1948, then becomes Israel, and then Palestine.
No, then it becomes Palestine.
Palestine didn't come in until like 1957, I think.
Right, but the Arab people still living there.
Yeah,
we're like, okay, well, we're going to be fucking Palestine.
Right.
Because we're definitely not Israel.
Yeah. Well, yeah, right. But it was like the British mandated Palestine, and that is a colony.
Right. And then they rebranded Palestine.
Yes.
And it's very effective.
And so I would say that Israel is a rogue colony. Like it was started, the intention of it in 1917 was to be a colony, and it has gone into be its own other thing. And like Israel bombed a U.S. ship when we were fucking trying to arm y'all. Like not y'all, but them.
Yeah, they don't fuck around.
They don't fuck around. Which is also like kind of scary in its own thing. In as much as like we don't fuck around, and like.
Yeah, but they don't fuck around with restraint. We got no restraint. America has no restraint.
Yeah.
Israel has more restraint than anybody's ever been in an army before.
Hold on, America has restraint?
Nah.
Yeah, we do.
Come on.
We only dropped 2 nuclear weapons.
Well, that you know of.
And then and then here's the thing. And I hear this a lot. And that's the Israel restraint. I hear it.
It's just a part of it. They shouldn't be bombing people.
There's not I don't see a lot of restraint, right? I don't. And that is
and that has been born out of years of give and then a lot of take on the other side. Israel, since its inception, has been willing to compromise, has proven time and again that they're willing to give up land and have offered land and have given up land. They got out of Gaza in 2005.
But that's not giving. That's not giving.
But they gave up. They left.
Right.
Left.
That's not giving.
Okay, hold on.
Right.
They left. They left all their infrastructure. They left everything they built. They left all their working systems to the people of Gaza. Whether they should have been there in the first place, you have an argument to say no. I get it.
Right.
But they left it there and said, we want you to prosper. We don't want anything in return. We want peace. Goodbye. We're sorry. Goodbye. Take all this as a penance. We're sorry. More than black people ever got in America.
I mean, yeah, but that's not
right,
like
I don't make it right.
Right, I don't
doesn't make it right.
So I don't give people like cookies for like doing like all right, okay,
the bare minimum.
Right, yeah.
Okay, and all right. But you also then, in the larger context, have to look at what happened with that.
What happened?
The government of Palestine at the time just wrecked it all. Said, "Fuck you. We don't want this Jewish shit. Fuck you. We're tearing it down. We're ripping it to shreds."
All right.
And then 2 years later said, coup. We're taking over. You don't like it? We're dropping you off buildings, buddy.
Yeah. And listen.
Hold on. Because there's more to that. So it's difficult for me personally to see any way that the Palestinian people who are suffering the most in this conflict.
Easily.
That's who suffers the most. It's the Palestinian people first, the Israeli people second, and then everybody else. America's not suffering at all. We're fucking profiting.
Yeah.
I mean, the far-right Israeli government, they're fucking killing it for themselves. I mean, not for the people who they serve.
Yeah, no, but they're killing it.
Yeah, for themselves.
Right.
Hamas really fucking, popularity poll about Hamas is way up right now.
Yeah, but they're not going on. Like, I mean, like Hamas is...
Okay, but the point is, the people of Palestine will never be okay as long as they have Hamas running the show. And until they recognize that their government is
but
a terrorist organization
Hamas
that
is so
supplanted
easy.
the government, that supplanted the only their first and only democratically elected government in a military coup, to be backed by Iran, to shoot rockets at Iran and Hamas's sworn enemy.
Who was the last Israel prime minister that was going for peace, though?
It's hard to say. Maybe
1995.
No.
1995.
2008.
Bullshit.
No.
Bullshit.
That's when the Omer plan was.
It was.
Look it up.
I know the plan.
So then you know when it was. It was 2008.
I don't think it was like.
And at the end of those talks, when those talks broke down, that's when they called the Second Intifada.
And then I guess right. So I tried to do this like really, like the pragmatic thing, right? And I get intifadas, right? I get them. I do. Like there's nothing that I can say or that doesn't to me feel goes, yeah, I get it. Like you're oppressed. Like it's what else are you gonna do? It's when I go out in the street.
But who's oppressing them?
What do you mean who's oppressing them?
No, give me the names of all the parties oppressing the Palestinian people.
All the parties that are oppressing the Palestinian people.
America.
Israel, America for sure. Like America for sure.
Yeah.
Egypt.
Iran.
Yeah, Iran,
Hamas.
Jordan. Yeah. There's a lot, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot for them to be mad at.
Okay.
There is.
Who's the only one that ever gets targeted?
Who's there? Who's the easiest? Look, America, hold on. America is the biggest villain in the world, and we don't get targeted for shit because you can't get to us.
Well, here.
Right.
We don't get targeted in our media.
Right.
Al Jazeera over there.
Oh.
I mean, they're happy to show the burning of the American flag.
Oh, but to show the burning of the American flag.
The infidel dogs of the American government, blah, blah,
and
blah.
Then Israel, but you guys get it because when we say who is hurting Palestine, America doesn't hurt Palestine directly. We hurt Palestine through Israel.
The same way Iran hurts Israel through Palestine.
Yeah. Right. So and then Palestine gets to blame for that. Well, Iran gets to blame for that, right?
Some. Not too many people are talking about that.
They do. I hear it. But like Israel, so Israel.
I mean, look, hold on. Palestine's been the Hamas government. I should say the Hamas government because Palestine, the people of Palestine, whether they like Israel or not, I can't really speak to. I don't know too many homegrown Palestinians. But the Hamas government has spent $200 million in the last 11 days shooting rockets at people.
Yeah. It's a good show for them. It's a show for them.
Right,
they know
to
what
get
the
their
fuck,
popularity
They know
polls
what the
up.
fuck it doesn't do anything. You guys know it doesn't do anything. The Iron Dome is fucking. The Iron Dome is the most impressive fucking thing I've ever fucking seen in my fucking life.
And by the way, world jury is happy to take credit for it.
You're happy to take credit for it. And you should. And you should. Rockets go up and you're like, they shot thousands of rockets at us. And you're like, and we all go, yeah. Because we all fucking know that those rockets aren't hitting.
Whoa.
They went, hold on. No. Everyone fucking knows. Everyone knows that those rockets do more damage to the people in fucking Gaza than they do to Israel.
You mean the one shot from Gaza?
From Gaza.
Yes. More people have been killed in this conflict by rockets shot from Gaza, in Gaza, than rockets shot into Israel.
Right. So when I see...
But, because the Israeli government builds Iron Dome defense
but they still
and bomb
got
shelters
it,
for their
but
people.
they still got them.
Okay,
they got them.
They could build bomb shelters for the people of Palestine.
So this is
with
when
the money, with the billions in aid that they get.
They can.
But they
but
don't.
You know they don't. Israel knows they don't, and they still fucking rain hell on these people. And here's the problem with it. Besides just killing people, it is that when I told you I can recruit for Hamas very easily. And it is if I kill your family, and you weren't even with Hamas, you were probably against Hamas. You were like, yo, Hamas is causing me problems in my fucking life. They're making it difficult. But now my dad's dead, my brother's dead, my uncle's dead, and I don't have anywhere else to turn. Hamas is there to recruit, right?
I get it, but listen.
And it's easy to be against to me.
Right, but
to me, it's
couple easy questions. Mm-hmm. Should Palestine fire rockets into Israel first?
They didn't fire them into Israel first, is what I would say. Was
In this current conflict.
in this current conflict, they fired them, but the conflict started in Sheikh Jarrah.
Okay, but should they have fired rockets into Israel?
Probably not.
Okay.
But I would say I don't know how to respond. Like, they don't know how to respond. They don't have an army. They don't have a military. So if I am and again, like, I hate arguing this because I hate religion, so I don't give a fuck about a mosque and what your holy days are. But if, like, it's their holy days, it's this holy time for them, and it's fucking Jerusalem Day or whatever too, and there is this conflict in Sheikh Jarrah. And now you're kicking people out of a mosque. And now you're kicking people out of their homes. And so...
But, okay, so you're talking about Al-Aqsa.
Yeah.
Okay. The Palestinians, the Muslim population there at Al-Aqsa on that Friday were upset over the actions of Sheikh Jarrah.
Right.
Understandable.
Right.
They began lobbing rocks and fireworks at Israeli police and military. And therefore, the Israelis had to close it down.
Why are they lobbing fireworks at the Israeli military?
Because they were upset over Sheikh Jarrah.
Where was the Israeli military for them to be lobbing rocks at them?
On the dividing line, because that land is also important to Jews.
Right.
There's holy significance to Jews as well.
Right.
So they're on the border
Right.
to maintain order.
Right. You feel me? But, like, this is what I'm saying, though, right?
But
like, they're causing a conflict, and they know there's this conflict. There's this Sheikh Jarrah conflict, and we can see it, and we know it's fucked up, and I know there's this old land dispute, right? And we have these old things, but there's no way in the world in your heart that you can't go into someone's home and being like, you gotta go, right? It's fucked. And it wasn't just the 8 homes there. It's been a bunch of homes. And it's in an area where we've gone, all right, here's, Jimmy Carter comes in, here are your territories. And each year, we're watching these settlements build up. So I can go for each of these different things, all right, this was a land dispute. This was this. But this is fucking West Gaza, right? West Bank, sorry. This is West Bank. This is what's for Palestinians. It is. I watch people. You can go to fucking Brooklyn and see people walking by being like, "Get the fuck out of my neighborhood," and that's people that did it naturally, right? This is the land that they have left.
97% of the West Bank is freely travelable by all of the Palestinians, either from Gaza or the West Bank. 3% is under some sort of occupation.
That is from,
and about 1,000 feet of it. You as an Arab or Palestinian cannot go on.
Right. Okay.
And because that area was where they continuously were killing Jews who had entered that area. So
hold on.
Wait.
But this
one,
is
one
the
more
West.
thing.
This is
one
the
more
West
thing.
Bank. This is Palestine. So, like, you should, like, all right. So even if you go, this is some area here where, like, oh, you guys killed us over here, so we have control over this area.
The first capital
Why are y'all
city,
taking control in anywhere over that area?
The first capital of Judea is Hebron, which is in the West Bank.
Okay.
The tomb of Abraham is in the West Bank.
Okay. Are we compromising or are we not?
We compromising
or are we not?
The only way Israelis can go in there is with IDF escorts, because previously when they tried to enter, they would be murdered.
And it's not right?
Not get out of my fucking neighborhood.
No, not get out of my neighborhood.
Lynched.
Yeah. And I want you to you guys do understand this. You guys do understand this, right?
Who do you mean you guys?
Jewish people. Jewish people, you should,
what
right?
Do you mean
you know the
people?
fuck I mean. But like for me, right? All right, black people, right? I can only relate everything back to black people.
That's another problem, though. This is not a conflict that can be viewed through American race relation prism.
No. But it's the only way I know how to relate to it.
Yeah, that I get.
Right. I don't think it's the same thing. And I don't think it's American race relation. People are like, oh, there's slavery, and I don't think it's like comparable to slavery or anything like that.
Apartheid?
But
do you think it's an apartheid state?
Yeah.
Come on.
And I think that
Come
because,
on.
and I think
That's one of those terms that gets
no,
me.
I think
20% of the population is Arab.
it doesn't matter.
They have representative
I think-
seats in the Knesset.
I think it is an apartheid state. As soon as you tell me, if you told me if America was a Christian state, I'd be like, yeah, it's an apartheid state. If you say it's a Jewish state, it's an apartheid state. If you say it's a Muslim state, I think it's an apartheid state. If you tell me that like one ideology is the state,
Where the fuck have you been? America is a Christian
I know.
state.
And did I tell you how I feel about America as a regime?
Yes, you did.
Right. Like I don't fuck with most governments. I think America is 1,000% an apartheid state. I know it.
You
right?
can only view through the lens of being black.
I mean,
understandably,
it's-
South Africa was apartheid. I don't see the similar conflict going on in Israel.
I absolutely do. When I see, and this is like
Arab Israelis, Christians, Muslims, all have the same rights in Israel. They do.
they don't.
They do.
They don't. And here's what I'll say. Here's
Hold
how.
on,
Here's
all
how I'll
right,
say.
Let me
it's
qualify
different.
that. Let me qualify that.
Right.
They do in that you have the same rights as I do in America, but we're treated very fucking differently.
Yeah, but no, not also just in that way, and also in that way, right?
But not just that way.
But like not just that way.
Yeah.
Because that is we do have the same rights, but we can look at the legal system and we go how we watch it play
How
out.
could this be the same?
Right, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And it works the same there, right? You know, and it's
Yes.
and like that's not like shitting on them. That's how every government works in their class systems, and that has essentially become like somewhat of a class system there, right? And then
Yes and no.
but to simplify it, right? And then you also go where I say it's an apartheid state is, you know, they have that sign of those two people, and the one was like, I'm a Palestinian and I can't get Palestinian citizenship, but I was born there. And someone going like, I was born in France, but I can get Israeli citizenship, right? Like there is a preference, and that is a difference. And so, like, it's not hard to, like, pinpoint these things. So if you go, it's not an apartheid state. If it's an apartheid state, America's an apartheid state. And I'll say to you, yeah, they both are.
All right. So you are using apartheid state very liberally.
I don't think it's liberally. I think it's accurately.
Is China an apartheid state?
I don't know what the fuck China is. China's China's whatever the fuck we are, just a little bit more.
I'd say a lot more. I mean, they have concentration camps happening.
We have more prisoners.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
yeah, but they're prisoners here based on their race, not their religion.
Yeah, right, exactly. You know, so it's like
I know.
You know, it's real hard for, and I think it helps me to see how difficult Americans are at seeing how bad some of the American things we do are because we're here.
Fucking kills me.
Right.
And so, like, all right. So all during last summer, like, you know, I reached out to you.
Yeah.
I am a backer of many of the social justice movements here in America. I didn't post a fucking square. I went and had conversations with people in my circle.
Right.
Who don't see this shit on social media.
Yeah.
Who don't necessarily have the wherewithal or really the desire, if we're being honest, to educate themselves on these things.
Yeah.
So I went out and educated them.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean-
not for a fucking pat on the back. Like, I never told you this before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you ever noticed that, like, I don't really post things about this. And I don't post about Israel either.
Right.
By the way.
I mean, I posted like two things, and people were like, "You're very vocal on this," and I was like, "I haven't really tweeted anything because, like, I was like, literally, I'm like, I've just been like reading as much as I can."
I
and
did see you post those bullshit maps, though.
The map's not bullshit.
The maps are bullshit.
Is it bullshit?
The maps are bullshit.
How's the map bullshit? I want to hear it.
One
How's
of
the map
them
bullshit?
is only a proposed plan that was never even enacted. That's one of the maps. One of those
All right.
4 maps.
I would say that I would say the maps are bullshit in this one way. The maps are bullshit because from 1967 to 1979, it doesn't show the extra areas that Israel took.
Yeah,
That's how
don't fucking come knocking on our door and get mad when we take your shit.
But that's an empire. They were doing empire shit.
No. They came at Israel first and got mad when Israel fucked them up and took their shit. Tell me that didn't happen.
That's empire shit.
No,
we took your
no.
shit.
Empire shit is I'm coming to your door and taking your shit. Not you came to my door, fucked with me, and got mad when I took your shit from you.
empire shit.
Nah,
that's
I
gang
disagree.
shit. That's
Gang shit. Yeah, Israel.
Yeah.
Gang, for sure.
Gang
but
shit.
not empire shit.
It's the same fucking
It's
thing.
not the
It's all the same thing.
It's not the same
I look
thing.
at and like
Come
when
on.
it is.
It's not the same thing.
It is. You defend your shit, but it's like, nah, you fuck that. All
right.
I got your bitch and your bitch.
But then when we give it back, you're like, well, fuck you. You gave it back. It wasn't yours to begin with.
Yes.
But
I ain't gonna give you no cookie if you come in my house and you take my shit, right? And
no. But I didn't come to your house. You came to my house.
So still.
You came to my
So
house.
still.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give you a cookie for
You
it.
came to my house. You wanted to fuck me up. I fucked you up. I took your shit. I held it for a little to teach you a fucking lesson, and then I gave it back to you. And then you got mad.
And you want a cookie.
No,
So-
I just don't want you to be mad at me for it.
But that's what I left.
Because I keep telling you.
It was left off the map. It was left off the map.
But I keep telling you, I'll come and sit down and make this right. But you just say, no, I want to kill you.
I don't think it's that either. And I don't think it's that either. And we can talk about Omer, but other than Omer, it has not been I listen, Netanyahu when he said the ceasefire.
I mean, look.
Netanyahu when he said the ceasefire was like, listen, we can always. He's like, we have two options. We can crush them, which is always on the table, or we can make sure they're quiet. And
if he dies, he dies.
But like my nigga,
He is
like
the Ivan Drago
and like
of
I am barely paraphrasing that. Like that is what he said.
I don't support the Netanyahu government. Maybe like the first iteration of the Netanyahu government.
Netanyahu's
but I
government
don't-
is
it's
insane.
Fucked. It's the Trump government
Yeah,
of Israel.
exactly.
I have no problem admitting that.
And that's all and here's the thing. I think that's all so many people want is for like Jewish Americans, right? It shouldn't be hard to go. Netanyahu's government he is very clear from the river to the sea. That's all he wants. It's not a way to peace.
No, the river to the sea is what they're chanting in Palestine.
But it's both. It's what they're chanting in Palestine. But I learned that phrase from Netanyahu.
Okay,
I learned it from Netanyahu. That's where I know it from.
The far right, like ultra orthodox in Israel, are that way.
Yeah.
90% of Israelis are like, what the fuck are we fighting for?
But that's who I learned it from was Netanyahu and whoever was the guy before that.
Barak?
Yeah. Like I heard that from them.
Okay, but all right. So I'll tell you when. Palestine was offered land in 1947 in the negotiations for the creation of the state of Israel.
Right.
And they're like, nah. So
Right.
Israel's like, all right, we'll take it. Like,
So-
I know it's nothing. I know it's a desert piece of shit with nothing there, but like, we'll fucking take it. Like, we don't have shit.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody back. Like, guys, come back. We
Yeah.
did it. Okay, fine. Then you got mad. Then they got mad. No, then the Palestinian government got mad. And in 1948, the day Israel opened, we're coming to fuck you up.
Which
Along with all of our brothers, all of our big brothers.
yeah,
who
and
surround you,
I can fully get that. You do get that. You do get that.
that they would come and attack Israel.
Yeah. You get that. Like, I mean, that's what anyone would do if they're like, all right, and especially being that region in that time wasn't, and before, like, Jews have been expelled from Israel a lot, but just before the formation of Palestine, Jews weren't expelled from Israel, right?
Well, technically no, because there have always been Jews there.
Right.
Always.
Yeah. And also, I don't understand why it's Israel, not Judea. I can't understand that in the history. As far as everything that I understand, Judea was the land for the Jews.
Judea and Samaria.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's
yeah.
what it's called.
Yeah.
And the people actually were called Hebrews.
Right, yeah.
They didn't become Jews until Judaism
right, yeah.
was created, when they got kicked out of Judea and
Yeah.
said, well, fuck, we better
Have
preserve our thing, and we're
the
coming
Jews.
back.
Right. And so when they came back and were like, Israel. I'm like, wait, no, hold on. The fuck? It was Judea.
Because, no, it's like, you know that shit we were talking about? It's real.
I won't.
We gotta have a little levity in the
So,
talk here, man.
fucking Kanye.
Oh, we're just moving right along?
Yeah, we're going to just jump right into Kanye.
Wait.
I think we solved
There's
it.
No.
No,
There's
okay.
a big...
Okay.
We're not going to solve the politics of it, because the politics are fucked. Because
politics
both
are
sides are coming at it from a fucked up place, and they're
Right.
not even really coming together to talk about it.
Right.
That's what's up.
I'll tell you where I did, and I got in trouble for this too in law school. I did.
But wait. I'll just leave it at
Go
this.
ahead.
The Palestinian people are worse off with a Hamas-led government, and you can never convince me otherwise of that.
And I also think the world is worse off with the Netanyahu right-wing led Israeli government.
You don't hear an argument from me.
Yeah, and I think
I'm not unreasonable.
And I think, and this is not just for you guys, and when I say you guys, that region, this is everywhere in the world. And this is generally what I think in the world, and this is what I probably push on this podcast. And I think it's really easy to defeat any terrorist organization, and it is, all you have to do is provide them that
spark.
You should provide them with what the organization is trying to provide them, right? And it's really easy, and we could, all money that we spend on war or bombs and on violence, if we spent that towards uplifting any group of people, Hamas wouldn't have shit, the Taliban wouldn't have shit, Al Qaeda wouldn't have shit.
Right, but when we give Hamas money, they build terror tunnels, not schools.
Don't give Hamas money.
That's the government of the Palestinian people. We're trying to do right by the Palestinians.
No. But they're not. They're not.
I wish
and
they
Gaza,
were.
and Gaza, and like basically, right? So Gaza, since the Hamas government took over, there's been the blockade on Gaza.
Because, do you know how that came about?
Yeah, the Hamas government got elected into power, and they were like, we're cutting off Egypt and Israel. Were like, we're cutting off.
No, that's
Okay.
not even how it happened. Because there were open channels into Israel. Because unfortunately, like you said, this doesn't go to an apartheid state, but definitely goes to the inequality of the Palestinian people. Much of Israel's cheap labor force are Palestinians across the border.
Yeah, so they allowed them to flow.
Yeah,
Right.
not unlike a certain southern neighbor of ours in this country.
Yeah. And then once it was like, all right, we don't have control over that.
No.
Go ahead.
They started doing the blockades because they were using it for terror purposes. Like sending a woman strapped with bombs in an ambulance to cross the border into Israel. To blow shit up.
But that is what oppressed people are going to do. And so if you didn't have the situation in which you're using this labor force,
but
right?
who is more oppressing the Palestinian people, Israel or the Hamas government?
Both.
All right.
Right?
But
So
more.
Hamas,
What more?
it doesn't matter, right? So Hamas
It matters to Israel.
It does because it gets to absolve you guys from the oppression that you're doing.
No.
So
I think it's the flip. I think there's not enough blame going around equally to many of the parties involved that are oppressing the Palestinian people, and Israel gets the blame. And that then leads us into religion, because that carries us into the conversation of anti-Semitism, my friend.
Anti-Semitism it's an interesting thing. And here's the thing, I'll tell you this. And like it's my gut reaction. The blue squares that went up on Friday night, and I know it was Shabbat, I found it infuriating. And I'll tell you why. Since we'll go deep. This is gonna be a 2-hour podcast. Here's why I found it infuriating.
My wife is already calling me.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. All right.
Love you.
So here's I saw the blue squares went up. And I didn't love the black squares, right?
Me either.
Yeah.
Because what the fuck did it do?
And I just posted something too about like an article that my friend wrote about like Stop Asian Hate and like kind of like all these like hashtags and what they do. You can answer that.
She's calling you.
Yeah, she's calling again.
Taking a time out.
Yeah, no, just put it on speaker. Hun, I'm almost done with them, I swear.
You hear that? He's almost done with me.
We've got like 10 more minutes, and we're going to talk about Kanye, and I'm going to send him home.
I love you.
Is it 9? Oh, fuck, yeah. Okay, all right, so, what was I saying?
About the squares and your friend's Asian hate.
Right, okay. So, 2 things. A lot of, like, Jewish people are like, all right, I don't have a responsibility to say something about this, right?
To say something about what?
The conflict, right? Like, I'm not an Israeli citizen. I'm a Jewish American.
That's
I'm a
bullshit.
Jewish, right? Okay, right. But if you're not going to say anything, don't say anything, right? Now, if you haven't said anything through this whole conflict, you haven't even tried to argue, like, come to the dialogue of it, right? Like we're doing, right? Dialogue. And then I just saw a bunch of blue squares go up from people who haven't said anything, and then we're like, stop anti-Semitism. And now you've put me into this position of going, yeah, fuck yeah, stop anti-Semitism. Like I said, like I like half of my best friends are Jewish, right? I'll fight somebody just as quick for anything about anything. But now you put me in the position of going, well, yeah, obviously stop anti-Semitism. But now it's in this context of, do I support what's going on in Israel, right? And so if I saw someone, this is how I felt about it. If I saw someone who hadn't said anything through the whole 11-day conflict, they haven't posted anything, they haven't said anything, they haven't engaged anything, and then all of a sudden I see a blue square go up with an Israel flag, I just take it as a show of support. That's all I take it as. Show of support.
For Israel's government.
For Israel's government. And that's how I took it. And
I would expect you to be a little more nuanced in that, but okay, I see where you're coming from.
That's what I took it as. I got in a whole fight with somebody who just said, I love being an American when Black Lives Matter was coming up.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Right. We were watching football.
What does that mean?
We were watching football. They were saying the Pledge of Allegiance. He said, I love being an American. Right?
Does being black not make you an American? I don't understand.
No.
What's the analogy there?
Oh,
what was his point?
Exactly.
What the fuck was his point?
His point was exactly what I thought was his point. Was like, I stand with the police. I'm about what they're doing. I support them, and etc. And that's kind of how I took this time around. And I took it as this time around as it was a blue thing went up, like the blue square went up, and I took it as if you didn't say anything else, as a support for the government of Israel. And I think that the government of Israel does a terrible job of, like, if I was a Jewish person upset with the increase in hate that was being brought upon Jewish people, I would go, there is this government that purports to represent Jewish people, who the head of it is fucking up. And I think he is. So if I'm
he doesn't purport to represent Jewish people.
He does too.
Says who?
Him.
Not me. He doesn't fucking represent
me.
me.
He says that.
No, he doesn't.
Yes,
really.
he does.
Says the
I
state
listened
of
to
Israel.
him. Right. He says the state of Israel.
But people conflate the state of Israel with world Jewry.
Right.
I'm a fucking American Jew. What do I have anything to do with Israel?
The Israel PR campaign is to go, Israel is Jewish people. That has been their PR machine, at least as long as I've been old enough for my friends to be going on birthright trips.
See, no, because then I'll tell you why. My aunt was a devout Catholic. And when we went to Israel as a family, we all went to Bethlehem and Nazareth.
Well, yeah, because it's important to every religion.
Right.
Yeah, if I listen to Dennis Prager on the fucking conservative talk channel, he is giving tours back to Israel, and it has nothing to do with Jewish people.
Right.
Right.
So how can Netanyahu represent? So how can it be that Israel's for Jews? Israel's for everybody.
That is literally what they're saying. They are saying Israel's for Jews. Israel is a Jewish state.
That's what the ultra far right sect of a government led by Netanyahu is saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That is a government led by Netanyahu, and that is what he's saying.
But then that's like saying, all right, well, the fucking neo-Nazis are saying this is a white country, so get the fuck out.
Right. And
nobody takes them seriously.
No, but but when the neo-Nazis were in power, right, you would be hard.
Were in power?
Basically, right? But you'd be hard, like during Trump's time, like people that were against him were very much like, yo, fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. I don't stand for that. Yeah, I'm an American, but that's not what America. If you would go on, like, if you were traveling somewhere and you were in another country and someone said something to you about Trump, I've been in other countries and people are like, yo, Trump, you're like, yeah, no, I don't fuck with that, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And it's like really clear, like, these are policies that I don't fuck with and I recognize what they are.
Okay, but here's the problem. When you can criticize the Israeli government and not be anti-Semitic. But when you say Israel is the Jews or Israel is for the Jews or the Jews are for Israel, whatever combination of that you
Right.
want to put together, then when you criticize the Israeli government, you are criticizing Jews. Like it is somewhat anti-Semitic.
Right.
But
And
that's not
so-
fair. And let me bring up another point. Anti-Semitism is somehow the only ethno-race religious ism that everybody else can comment on. I don't fucking tell you what black racism is. I have no fucking idea what black racism is. And I would never know what black racism is because I'm not black and I've never experienced it.
And-
I have experienced ancillary black racism when I've, dated women of color or lived with people of color.
Right.
I see it like, oh, she walks up to the hostess first and she doesn't get the business.
Right.
And then I walk up and it's like, how may we help you, sir?
Right.
I get it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you what it is.
Right.
But everybody seems to have an opinion on how and when and what forms anti-Semitism takes place.
I'll tell you what. Everyone does have an opinion on what every other kind of racism is. Even as far as like LeBron James doing Taco Tuesday and being like, this isn't racist. This isn't racist. And other people weighing in. Like, no, Mexicans aren't offended by that. Or with the Asian hate, right? Like there is, I'm dating an Asian girl now. And like there are so many things that...
Shout out Setsuke.
Right? There's so many things that I spot that I'm like, oh, that's racist.
But
You know what I mean?
does she think it's racist?
Some yes, some no.
Right.
And
Some
that's
yes,
everything.
some
Right.
no.
Yeah. And so like we all
All right. So your take on on Asian racism may not be spot on.
Right.
Maybe you shouldn't have a take.
But that goes with everything. That goes with fucking like homophobia, transphobia, like everything. Everyone does weigh in. No one's everyone's shit is unique. African racism is different than African American racism. I was talking to someone about this the other day. Like if I go to Europe or somewhere like that, I am different as a Black American than an African immigrant in Europe, right? Like it's different. Like there's complexities to every different group of people type of thing. So it is all of our shit is unique and none of our shit is unique.
Okay, then let me bring it back to this. The analogy we used of like white supremacists, right? So basically, nobody's calling for like more Derek Chauvins. Nobody's like, oh, I wish we had 1 million Derek Chauvins.
I mean, there are, but they're few and far between, right?
Some people are. Several more people are like, yeah, bring Hitler back. Hitler was right. Fuck, we should have gotten a lot more Hitlers.
Bro, first of all, play Xbox.
Oh, no, thank you.
Yes.
I mean, for a number of reasons.
Exactly.
First of all, I don't know if you game, but if you're like 40 and you're fucking gaming, like
I don't game.
I can't fucking
Right, yeah, I don't. I have
Like,
more time. I have too much time. I don't have enough time. Right, yeah.
Too little
right,
time
yeah.
and too much time
Right,
to not play video
right.
games.
So I'm like, I can't do it.
Shout out to all my PS5 homies.
I got him. But when I did, I believe you're the most horrific racist shit ever.
Oh, yeah. And that's true America.
And
That's fucking America.
And-
when there's no camera on you, but you have a mic,
And
that's
just
true
talk
America.
fucking shit.
Yeah.
And
just
so-
like Meyer Leonard yelled "kike" in a fucking
Bro,
Xbox
Dave Chappelle had a
room.
fucking banana thrown at him at a show. You know what I mean? Like, and I am
right. Even the famous ones,
Right.
even the rapper, actor, athletes, they don't get by,
right.
and they're
I am
supposedly the shining example of their race.
And here's the thing too. I'm in groups, and this is like just my opinion, my position, how I do things. But like I'm in groups, and where just people send me just like these things of people going on the most awful racial tirades on earth, and they say the most awful, ridiculous things. And I go, I know this exists. I 1,000% know it exists. People say these awful things. Hitler didn't go far enough is an easy one to say because we've set Hitler up as the biggest villain ever on earth. And I'll go, he's, easily like top 2 villains.
Who's your other?
I don't know, fucking like Genghis Khan, Mao, some shit like that. They put up big numbers. They put up big numbers. Yeah, like other people that put up big numbers. So
You're
like
stats guy.
Yeah, I'm a stats guy. I gave Genghis Khan. I put Hitler over Genghis Khan because
All right, who's LeBron? Who's Durant?
like Hitler's Durant.
What?
Yeah, Hitler's Durant because I just feel like he's petty, and he would have just been starting. If Hitler was on Twitter, he would just like be making a fake
Salty
Twitter
as
talking
shit.
about just like, but actually the Jews did this, and he'd be making
He is a bitch in that way.
Right, yeah.
Right. I can imagine Genghis Khan being like, I have no fucking time for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just running through shit.
Yeah.
And Genghis Khan fucked more, and so Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan's really like Wilt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. He was like repopulating while he was
and
killing.
changed the game. Like up until that time, nobody had really seen something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas Hitler was like, no, I get the game. I'm just going to execute.
I
And
feel like
so it's real bad.
Maybe we've taken this conversation a little too far. I'm starting to get a little uncomfortable with this, actually.
But like,
But see, I set you up. You feel like you could talk about Hitler like that.
I feel like I can talk about anything like that. Because I do, like, I'm people have said like awful shit about black. Fucking Kramer went on stage and said, I would have you hanging upside down with a fork up your ass. Someone said that on camera, a person from Seinfeld. And that's not like
Actually, I think he said like back then you'd be swinging from a tree or something.
Yeah.
Which is more horrific.
Horrific, right.
Right, because of the implications
And that
of
wasn't
slavery
some nameless person on fucking Twitter. That was Kramer from fucking Seinfeld saying this awful thing. It's like
you still watch Seinfeld, right?
I still watch Seinfeld. I watch the shit out of Seinfeld. I watch Curve and all that shit. So like I'm like people will say really really awful things, and like even as far as like people like the Palestinians want all the Jews dead.
All right, but let's get to that root. All right, we're such a small percent of the population to have such a large incident of hate that it just does not make sense.
It does, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
Advocate for anti-Semitism.
Not for anti-Semitism.
Go right ahead.
Not for anti-Semitism. But the amount you are in the population versus the amount of hate that you receive, it seems unproportional. But you guys were just there in the beginning of time. So you guys are part of the original beginning of time. And so you guys are part of the conversation. And that's just why it is. Like
But they hated us at the beginning.
Yeah, I know.
They've been hating us ever since.
Well, because
they hate us because they ain't us.
They hate you guys because you guys said one God first.
Dibs.
Yeah, that's it.
No, but look, the numbers are skewed. The incidents are skewed. The microaggressions in these fucking infographics are... I don't really like that social activism either, where it's like everything is anti-Semitic.
Right.
Because
I don't
subscribe to that.
Yeah.
Right. I don't subscribe.
And
to
I
that.
do the same thing. Like everything's not racist and everything's not this, but there are things that are, and there are things that are not.
The constant desecration of synagogues in the past 11 days. The fucking random beatings in New York and L.A. If Jews are not safe in New York and L.A., then we need fucking Israel.
Well, I mean, nobody is fucking safe. Nobody's safe.
All right, let me ask you this. Does Israel have a right to exist as a state?
All right, as a Jewish state, I would say no. And I would say that as far as any religious state.
Well, that's the argument, is there should be no religious
There should be no religious state.
But Israel as a Jewish state with religious freedom for all.
I don't understand a Jewish state with religious freedom. It is a state with religious freedom. I don't understand how you would go a Christian, if me as a non-Christian, if you tell me it's a Christian state without it, and that's how I feel about it, right?
Yeah.
And so I just, I want everyone to have a safe place to exist, and I think obviously everyone is entitled a safe place to exist.
Okay, so the 47 other Arab nations is not enough
for them,
for everybody, for all the Muslims in the world, for all the Arabs in the world.
Arabs and Muslims are different.
I know. I'm saying.
Right.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
The mix of those 47 nations
So,
is Arab and
as
Muslim.
much as any of those nations are Muslim, I'm against it. So I don't give a fuck if it's 47. I don't care one. Okay. I'm against it.
How
as
many
much as any Christian nation is Christian.
How many times have you gotten on a podcast and said, I'm against this nation state for its religious affiliation?
How many times has anyone asked me?
But why do I have to ask you?
Because that's just what the nature of it is.
Because we're the only ones that anybody talks about.
Why am I sitting here talking about? And here's the reason.
Why does the UN have more resolutions in regard to Israel?
Here's the reason.
Than any other country by like a fuck ton.
All right. Do you want to know the answer?
Do I?
Yes. Where did everything start? And then where is the bridge between the most resource-rich areas in the world?
Of which Israel has none.
No.
Of which they just built on their fucking backs.
It's a bridge.
Into a goddamn monolith bridge. Into the
everyone's
mega bridge.
Anybody can make that into a monolith bridge. Anyone can make the bridgeway between Africa and the Middle East, the two most oil, gold, rich places in the world. That's what it is, and that really is what it is. That is why that region is rich, because when civilization started, that's where you could do the best farming. You had the most fertile land. You had all that, and then also you had the gold and the oil and the salt and the stuff coming out of here, and you had the trading routes coming out of here, and that is literally it.
But present day Israel is not on that land.
But that is what the whole thing is.
Right.
That is what life is.
But we said, all right, you guys keep all the good shit. We're going to take this scrappy piece of desert shit and we'll be fine on our own. And we've been fine on our own.
Yeah, no, but it still is. It still is a strategic point for trading.
All right, so we're just talking. So real talk. Why can't anyone just leave Israel the fuck alone?
People could leave Israel the fuck alone.
Why don't they?
And here's how they could.
Why don't they? Because like me as an American Jew, who's been to Israel and been to the West Bank, like I don't fucking understand it.
All right, and here's why people can't leave Israel alone. It's because Israel's a Jewish state.
Right.
In the
and
middle
people hate Jews.
No, not because people hate Jews. It's not because people hate Jews.
Some people hate Jews.
It's not because people hate Jews.
Because some people
hate Jews. Some people hate Jews.
Like Hamas.
Right. Yeah, Hamas hates Jews, but Hamas hates
Iran.
But here's the reasons why.
Several more of their neighbors.
But reasons why, though, is because, and even if they came in, and Israel came in 100 years ago, and it's not a 1,000-year-old dispute, it's a 100-year-old dispute. Israel came in, the idea of Zionism.
Britain came in.
No.
Britain came in.
Well, first it was like the Israel Zionist idea that came out like 1895 or whatever.
Yeah, Theodore Herzl.
Yeah. So this Zionist idea. And
that's another fucking loaded word. Zionist.
But that's where the idea comes from.
But people say Zionist when they don't want to say, I hate Jews.
That's not.
Some of them do.
Some of them do.
Not everybody. I'm not going to blanket statement this shit.
But you have to address Zionism as it is. Like there is a movement of Zionism, and that was kind of born out of this idea.
Okay, so what I don't understand, especially, and as we'll relate it back to these social justice movements, Zionism is like, okay, we were here, we want it back. We got colonized.
I'll tell you what.
We got colonized by the Romans, who then got colonized by the Byzantine, who then got colonized by the Ottomans, who then got colonized by the British. But guess what? We're back. We took it back.
If you take it back, you got to fight for that shit, and then you have to understand where that fight comes from. We took it back. And even if it's like we took it back from thousands of years ago, the people in that land are going, we took it back. And I'll tell you this too. As a person.
So what about the Native Americans?
Oh, motherfucker, they should fucking fight.
Should we leave?
Yeah. Yes.
Go where?
This is what I hear a lot.
And go where?
Go the fuck back to Europe. I don't know where the fuck.
Go back to where you came from.
I don't know where the fuck white people. Yeah.
I'm not white.
Okay.
I'm not white. That's another part of it. Like,
right.
I'm not white. This is what I tell my black friends and people I talk to and my brown friends and the undocumented immigrant I was dating at the time when Black Klansman came out. Because I think that actually made a pretty good statement about blacks and Jews in a white world.
Right.
And their inter-conflict.
Right.
But also how they work together, because many Jews were founding members in the SDS.
Yeah, I know. I know about Jewish people.
Because you grew up with Jews.
Yeah.
We're ultra-liberal to the point of like, make us your friend.
You're ultra-liberal to the point it switches back to the Israel. And I think I think.
Some people.
Right.
Some people.
Right.
Some people do that flip and go hardline Israel.
And then some people are just like, no, we're here for this, right?
Hold on.
Go on.
Okay, so where was I going?
Black Klansman.
Right. Okay. So the way I explain it is, we're not white. We're other. We're in different boats in the same ocean.
Right.
Your boat rickety as fuck, got dealt the worst possible hand. I'm talking black Americans. Your hair, your clothes, the way you speak, everything says, this is my boat when I'm coming ashore. And the white people who are on the shore are like, well, we don't like that. Not for any good reason.
Yeah.
But like, they see your boat and they're like, that's a boat we hate.
Well,
that's not our boat.
Hold on. Our boat didn't come here. They brought our boat here.
Right.
They went and took us.
Correct.
They didn't dislike it.
Correct.
They went there.
We're talking hundreds of years later.
Right.
Now we're all in the port. We're waiting to get in the port.
Because we're
waiting to get in the Anglo-male port of America.
Right. But we weren't waiting. We were brought to the port.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. And then
they built your boat as shitty as possible, chained you into it, and made you row it over here.
And then we were still like, all of our shit's doper.
Yeah.
Okay.
You still want to be our boat,
right?
But you don't like our boat being in your port.
Okay. Yeah. Just so we're clear there.
You want to take our boat and like make it a little different.
So stop putting black people on boats. Go on your boat. All right.
Okay. Jews are in boats too.
Right.
I'm the next boat.
Okay.
I look like the boats the white people have.
Well, I mean, so do fucking Italians and Irish, and they all like went through shit. And you guys can all go, you're not white, but it's really easy for you guys to assimilate into whiteness once you get here.
And I get that it's a different question that I benefit from many elements of white privilege.
Yeah.
No question.
Right.
But it's always until the other shoe drops. And that's what I am explaining. It's like, okay, when you walk into a room, you're black. Right. You're immediately black, and everybody makes whatever assumptions they make based on you being black.
Right.
Right or wrong,
and you can have a whole conversation in a room, and you could even sit there while somebody shits on Jewish people.
Could have several fucking times.
Yeah. And then and can walk out of the room and be like, well, you should have seen. I literally have no idea. I do not know what it is like to be I have to just hope they forget that I'm in the room, and then I'm like, oh, that's how you feel. I can't know it, right? So that's one thing.
No, see, I disagree. I feel like they let you know it immediately. They let you know how they feel about you as a black person almost immediately. I'm sure you can feel it.
Most times you do, but not always. Yeah.
Okay, not always, but like the majority of the time, like when you as a black man walk into a place, I think there's probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but like you're fairly identified early as a black man.
You can feel, right, yeah, and you can feel some of it, but you can't feel all of it.
Right,
but
all right,
hold on, I want to go Native American.
Hold on, let me get back to this point. So when I walk in, I'm in a psychological struggle of always wondering when it turns and I become other. Mm-hmm. And that's like a fucked up place to be. It's a weird place.
Right.
It's not worse than immeditely being shown the fucking back door.
Well, no. I mean, it can be other ways too. Like for us, it's like, how much are you going to play our game? And the second I'm not playing the game, then it flips.
But you know that from the beginning. Those are the rules from the beginning.
Right, yeah.
Our rules are like changing once they find out that we are other. And so for our existence, our entire existence as Jewish people, we've always been waiting for the shoe to drop when we have to run, when we have to fight. Most of the time we ran. Thankfully, we fucking lasted. Some of the times we fought, there's part of the reason genetically we are a less statuesque people is because many of our warrior class died in battle.
Right.
So genetically, we were predispositioned to be smaller in stature.
Okay.
So, luckily we've come to the point after the Holocaust where it's like, we're done fucking running. This is our land. We're sticking our flag in it. We will literally all die here if we have to.
But
I mean, that's a general take, but you get what I'm saying.
Right.
Like, we're done running. We're going to fight. If you kick a rock into our fucking yard on purpose, you're going to be sorry.
But
right or wrong, that's the point that we've gotten to.
But it's not
through
right
the context of our past.
Okay.
And the several smaller and sometimes larger aggressions that accompanied that past.
Okay, so here's the thing.
So it's like saying, all right, forget 400 years of African American history. Forget that. Don't be so mad.
No. But here's the thing. It's not don't be so mad. And this is what we always talk about. Black people amongst ourselves talk about. And we know this. We go, this is why there's...
Whoa. There are secret meetings.
Yeah, we have meetings.
There are secret meetings.
There's 1,000% meetings. But we always go, this is what, we know why America's afraid of us. And America's afraid of us because America knows what it's done to us. And America is afraid that if we ever, one, get the knowledge and or the power, what we're going to come back with is going to be equal to what they did to us. And that is the fear, and it's a legitimate fear. And we all go, we don't want that. We just want our equality. We just want to feel safe. We just want to feel free. And if we start to show ourselves to go, we're going to take this power that you give us, if you give us our freedom, if you give us our thing and we abuse it, that's what the concern is. And I think the concern with a lot of people with Israel is that, all right, yeah, you guys get to be free. You get to do this. You get to do this. But to the point in which you overextend that power and and this isn't Jewish people, this is the Israeli government. Mm-hmm. We view the Israeli government of going, they're bullying. They are overextending their power. And then when you guys go, and like as you go, because you have this thing, like we have to feel safe, and we're going to do anything to feel safe, and then so you let anything that the Israeli government do ride because you're like, we're never again. We have to be strong. We have to be strong. And then we're going, that's where the balance comes in.
Okay, so to me, I could see that analogy as Israel is black Americans.
But they're Native Americans. As far as I can see.
Who is Native?
I'm sorry, Palestinians are Native Americans. Never mind. Yeah. But okay.
So if Israel is the black Americans in this analogy, then for years and years and years, they've gotten the shit end of the stick, gotten beat up, gotten killed, gotten murdered by the people that surround them and control them. Okay?
Not that surround us and control us. They took us. But go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they kicked us out.
We were
too.
chilling. We were chilling. No one even kicked us out. We was chilling.
Okay. They didn't even bother taking us. They just murdered us.
Yeah. Well,
they didn't even say we're going to take you. They're just saying, all right, we're going to kill you. And we're going to keep trying to kill you forever. That's our end goal, is to kill you forever. Doesn't matter what happens.
Exterminate the birds.
And if we die killing you, we get rewarded for dying for killing you. Mm-hmm. Okay. So if Israel is the black Americans in this scenario, after all those years of fucked up shit that everybody else has been doing to them, they finally get a piece. So
I think Israel's been both, and that's that's what's complicated. Is they've had the opportunity to be both.
Yeah, maybe currently in this in this current conflict, they may have.
I would say over the last 2 decades.
Is there a power imbalance between Israel and the Palestinian people? Yeah, of course. Who the fuck is arguing against that?
Yeah,
nobody.
Right.
But in order to keep the terrorist government that reigns over the Palestinian people in line, they only respond to shows of force.
But they don't.
Well, they haven't responded to peace and compromise, which we've put on the table like a fucking dozen times.
I mean, not enough.
Not enough.
Right. You just
when
have to,
is it not on us?
You just have to commit to it.
When is it not on Israel to make the peace?
It won't be on Israel when the power structure isn't on Israel. And that's when it'll be on it. It'll be on Israel when Israel is not controlling the border. It'll be on Israel when Israel isn't has the military and Palestine doesn't. And so
okay, so even in the early stages of Israel as a nation state from 1948 to 1967, when we weren't in the power.
Yeah, but you guys were backed.
But we weren't in power.
But you were backed. So you're in power.
No. The multiple states surrounding Israel trying to murder it and annihilate it,
right,
also backed by other regimes, was more powerful at the time than a timidly backed Israel.
If it was more powerful.
This is pre-Carter.
Yeah. Pre-Carter.
This is like Kennedy, LBJ. Yeah. They wanted nothing to do with Israel.
Oh, no, yeah, because America didn't get in until
there was oil in the 70s. Right. So from 1948 to 1967, when nobody gave a shit about Israel.
That's when UK was being like, we don't know what we're doing, and then France tried to get in, and they tried to fund it a little bit, and then France didn't know what to do.
And even they were like, we don't really like you, get the fuck out, we don't care what happens to you. Okay, so when they weren't in power, they were still trying to make that compromise and bridge to peace, and giving shit up to make it happen. And time and again, it takes time. The Arab states have said no.
It takes commitment to peace. And I understand that
if you can't see that the failure of commitment to peace is on the other side, then I think the position that you come to argue about peace is flawed.
Well, no, and here's where I understand what you're saying. And I think
there was a great nation-state negotiator, Middle East negotiator, who once said, "The Arabs never give up an opportunity the Arabs never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity."
And I would say kind of both ways. And I think that's what's been going on there. And I think it comes back to our original stance. And it comes back to our original, where we started. And that's both of us believing that a one-state solution is a solution. And I think we both believe that that one-state solution is being just like in actual equal democracy.
Chill.
Right. And
we are the Israeli state of chill.
Right.
We got sick beaches, fucking hot women, great food, awesome
but
parties,
I want that to be
a ton of ecstasy.
I want that to be hot Palestinian women, hot.
Well, talk to the modesty police. Talk to Bella and Gigi. Who profit from who profit from that, but want to then champion the cause that they know nothing about.
They do no, but they know they're fucking Palestinian, right? And they know they're Palestinian, and the with the government that has been allowed to take over,
the British government displaced their family.
Okay,
that matters.
It does matter.
Okay,
but
who are they blaming?
Who's it being done through?
No. The British government displaced the Hadid family before Israel existed.
Oh, yeah.
But who are they blaming?
Well, Israel's in the place there.
But nobody wants to take in the context of the situation.
I
Everybody wants to post fucking maps that are just proposals from 1947 that aren't necessarily the maps of the land. No offense.
But that hold on. That was the proposal
by the UN.
Okay.
Not by Israel.
Who created Israel in 1948?
But Israel couldn't have been to blame in 1947 for something where it didn't exist.
But that's who created the map that was proposed.
Blame the fucking UN.
Was the creation.
Blame the UN.
You gotta go. All right.
I'm in trouble.
Okay. All right. So let's give it.
All right. We're going right to Kanye West.
Straight to Kanye.
Who knew that the most inflammatory and possibly divisive statement that's going to be said on this podcast comes in the form of, how do you feel about J. Cole's #1 album?
Is it #1? Because
it's #1. 6 straight #1s for that fella.
Okay. How many bangers on those #1 albums? You listen to this new album, right?
Some of them, not all of them.
And guys, this has been FPRK Radio Podcast. Gar, tell the people where you can find you.
Like on Twitter?
Yeah, on Twitter, Instagram. Are you Instagram?
I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram, but I'm private.
Okay, he's private.
Don't fuck with me. You know where you can find me? Advocating in real life discussions and discourse and trying to educate people and change their minds. Not posting blue squares or black squares or stupid fucking infographics if I don't know what the cause is or the history behind it. Do your research, people.
Do research, and I'll say do research because either way, especially on this, and you didn't do this at all, and I really appreciate that. But every conversation I've had with someone has been someone like, Ashton, you don't know what's going on. And I'm like,
wow.
I've done so much fucking research.
I wonder where that comes from.
Right. I'm like, I've read books. I've read I've read articles. I was almost published on this. So I almost got published on my
name names.
Y'all know
air it out.
Y'all know who y'all is. Y'all know.
Watch out.
All right, but yeah, I gotta get you back to your wife. I see her calling you up. This has been
worth it, though. Worth it.
Worth it.
If we created one more closer step to peace, it was worth it.
I think so. I think we did. I think we did work, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I hope I didn't say anything that I was overstepping my bounds on, because we touched on some pretty heavy.
I'll let the viewers
religious
decide.
Race relations.
I'll let the viewers decide. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, comment on your top 3 basketball, mercenary, despot analogies. We'd love to hear from you.
I really enjoyed that part.
Yeah.
All right, this has been FPRK Radio Podcast. You can find me on YouTube. Follow me on Aston Wallace at Aston Wallace, or FPRK Radio on Instagram. Fast Ramon on everything else. Oh, actually, no, my new Twitter, since I was banned from Twitter and I'm back. So follow me at Shaman Wallace on Twitter. It's my new Twitter, but don't tell nobody because I'm not supposed to be on there. I'm supposed to be banned forever like Donald Trump. And then we'll catch you next week or next month or whenever, it hits me. All right, peace.
Peace.
Yeah, thank you, man. That's fucking good.